Nowadays, unfortunately, we conflate popularity with credibility. I would say this speaks to how our standards as a community has been affected in this new digital age that we currently live in. And so because of that, I find it very, very problematic when I see a title like the title that they used to react to my video, when in fact they don't speak on behalf of the entire Sunni community, and nor do I speak on behalf of the entire Shia community. However, unfortunately, it seems like these two are more concerned about likes and ratings and comments and views than they are about how their language, their provocative language, can negatively impact the Muslim community as a whole. So for them to be this careless with how they title their videos and how they use their language is very shameful. Before we get into it, there's a very important distinction that needs to be made. There is the Shia narrative, which highlights the oppression that the Ahl al-Bayt and Fatima Zahra faced after the death of the Prophet. Then there is the Lady of Heaven film, which is a movie made by Sheikh Yasser Al-Habib, in which there has been tons of uproar and tensions that have been sparked as a result of it. Now, these two things must not be conflated with each other. Many, even within the Shia community, have rejected this film that's been made by Sheikh Yasser Al-Habib. However, this does not mean that they reject the historical narrative, which highlights the oppression and the attacks that were made against Fatima Zahra alayhi salam and the Ahl al-Bayt after the death of the Prophet. This was my critique of the film in the initial video that I made reviewing it, in which I felt could have been done in a better, more academic, and in a more educational way without the need of fueling such tensions within the Islamic community. Now, condemnation and rejection of this film made by Sheikh Yasser Al-Habib must not be conflated with rejection and condemnation of the historical accounts which outline and highlight the oppression that Fatima Zahra and the Ahl al-Bayt faced after the death of the Prophet. These two things must not be conflated. This is a very, very important distinction. And with that in mind, let's get into the video.
So I was sent a video randomly. I was just waiting here. I was waiting to go out. And this video, let's watch it for ourselves. So these are two individuals. We don't know if they're Shia or Sunni.
Hello, welcome to our channel. I know you guys missed us. It's been a long time, but we're back. We're back and better than ever. Anyway, as you read in the title, we're going to be reviewing the Lady of Heaven movie. We watched it a couple days ago.
It was interesting. Obviously, the person who made the movie is a very controversial person. Even within the Shia community, he's very controversial. Based off of that alone, there's a lot of don't watch it, don't do this, don't do that. So
we went ahead and watched it.
to be honest with you, we were both very excited to actually see that something was being done in honor of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. You know, naturally you get excited when you see somebody that.
So what you just said there, I'm assuming it's a Shia.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
Maybe, huh?
I mean, the title of the video that I made, that I posted with my wife on YouTube, was a Shia's perspective on the Lady of Heaven film. It literally says that when you click on the video. And in addition to that, the person that sent him the video, I mean, I'm sure he didn't just send him a video without saying anything. I'm sure he said, hey, look at this Shia discussing the film. The issue that I have with these types of figures is that everything becomes an act. You don't know what's genuine, what's sincere versus what's part of the show. So just right off the bat, come on, man, like just watch the video, react to it. Enough with this acting, enough with these charades that you guys play. And it's not just you guys specifically. I won't just say it's you two. It's just, I feel like that's the problem with this new age that we live in. Anyways, let's continue.
Also, you know, this whole narrative of, and I'll mention that in my video, but I'll mention it here again, of Fatima being, they didn't mention it, clearly it shows that they're Shiites, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't mention the fact that the whole story was made up.
Okay, good. Which is very important.
This whole story of Umar ibn Khattab coming into the house and killing Fatima and then the baby being killed and then she going out apparently some time after and making a speech. The thing is, this is ahistorical.
So let me get this right. So these two Shia individuals here, they are basically giving their feedback on a story that isn't real.
The first thing was to mention, or the fact that Mohammed Hijab mentioned that this story was made up. It was an ahistorical story. It's not a real story. Now, when I hear this, I'm either led to believe that he's trying to dupe his audience or he's trying to dupe himself. The reason why I say that is because whether you're looking at Sunni references or you're looking at Shia references, there are very, very clear historical accounts that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam was oppressed after the death of the Prophet. It's one thing to disagree with the details that are portrayed in the film or the details in which are predominant within the Shia community, but to then just say that the whole story is made up is That's ahistorical in and of itself.
This is because this movie is
what
dishonoring
moral
Ali. No, one second. This movie was aimed to dishonor the companions, but in reality, I don't know if they show this in the movie, as if Umar ibn Khattab is coming in and killing her, and Ali is there. This is the greatest dishonor to a lion of Islam. Ali radiallahu anhu, like this is someone the enemies would shake. And you're telling me this man is in his house watching his wife being brutally killed?
Is that right? Is that in the film?
All right, beaten, killed.
Is that in the film? Yeah?
No, don't know the film. I'm saying hadith.
This is a point that has come up many, many times. Now, the idea or the goal isn't to make anybody look bad. The idea or the goal should always be to tell history as it is and let history speak for itself. That should always be the goal, and that's the first thing. Now, in regards to this notion that Imam Ali was cowering away while his wife was being attacked, I think that that's a very simplistic outlook, because we're not talking about a dispute between neighbors. We're not talking about Joe and Bob got in an argument and Bob came and slapped Joe's wife and Joe just stood there and didn't do anything. We're talking about one individual who is now a head of state. He now controls the Islamic empire. He controls the Islamic military. He is the most, or one of the most powerful figures in the Islamic civilization, in the Islamic empire. And that individual is now attacking a household of Imam Ali and Fatima Zahra. He's attacking the household. When the claim is made that Umar attacked the house, it's not on the basis of he just came by himself and just started attacking the house. It's on the basis that this was a head of state that came, and it was a state-sponsored, state-sanctioned attack on this house. That is the claim. The claim was that the state, which was now run and taken over by corruption, has now turned against the household of the Prophet, and they've sanctioned attacks on that household. So this wasn't one individual that came. This was a police state that was now attacking people that were not falling in line. This was a police state that was now persecuting their political opposition. And the specific details or the specific accounts, again, are a topic of discussion even within the Shia community. And there are different narrations as to how it actually went down from a perspective of was he in the house or was he not in the house. Now, all that, I would say we can put it on the side and talk about the real issue. And the real issue or the real question must be, was there oppression towards the household of the Prophet after his death? And what does the history books, both Sunni and Shia, what do they have to say about that? Let's carry on.
So would you like it if the Sunnis made a film and depicted, I don't know, not that we wouldn't.
12 Imams.
Yeah, imagine we did the same with 12 Imams, or these individuals that you guys hold, are love to you. And imagine if we did that, would you go and say, oh, it's freedom of expression, you should go and watch, would you say that? You wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say that. So why is it with this? Because to me, when you say this, to me, it's like, wow, okay, the Shia community, I'm not judging based on two individuals, but you guys don't seem like, you don't seem like
they don't care about.
All right, so this is a very interesting point. The point that was made is, if the roles were reversed, how would you feel as a Shiite? Now, my answer to that, or I guess my opinion on that, is the roles have been reversed. I don't know if you're in tune with Islamic history, but there is a chapter, or I guess maybe a whole volume devoted on the Shia persecution, or there at least should be a volume devoted to the Shia persecution within Islamic history. So to say, imagine if the roles were reversed, I mean, it doesn't take much for me to imagine. All I have to do is open up a history book and see what went down. Let's take it a step down and let's talk about, like, how would you feel if somebody insulted the figures that you respect and you hold dear within your sect? Once again, I don't have to imagine, or I don't have to resort to my imagination for this. A prime example would be Abu Talib, who is the father of Imam Ali and the uncle and parental guardian of the Prophet. He actually raised the Prophet. Now, this individual, Abu Talib, is a very revered figure within the Shia school of thought, and for good reason. However, in the Sunni school of thought, they claim that he is a kafir and that he is burning in the hellfire. So I don't have to imagine the roles being reversed, because All I have to do is take a look at the history books and take a look around me and see that there have been incidences, many incidences, where the roles have been reversed. And there's no insult worse than saying somebody is a kafir. That is a very, 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 very big insult. I want to clarify this by saying that the answer isn't to just continuously insult each other's holy figures. But rather, it should be to have that understanding that there are certain narratives within each school of thought, and these narratives may go against each other, so to speak. We have to also understand that that's fine as long as it's done in a manner that's academic, in a manner that's historical, based on historical accounts, and based on this notion and this idea of a pursuit for education or a pursuit for truth. I don't think any figure is above their actions. I don't think any figure should get a pass for anything. Islam is about understanding our religion. It's about understanding our prophet. It's about understanding our history. It's not about just accepting things at face value without being inquisitive of them, or without exploring them, or without trying to understand them a little bit deeper. So that's my response to that, brother. We don't have to imagine. All we have to do is open up the history books.
No, exactly. So to me, when I see two Shias doing this, look, I've had Shias coming to me and say, "Do you do Takfir?" I don't do Takfir of you guys. I don't. Yeah, I see you guys as my brothers and sisters. I'll be very honest with you. Unless you come and tell me that you're going to start cursing Aisha and I'll say to my friends to you later, the scholars make that decision that anyone that insults the mother of the believer is a kafir. Yeah. So the thing is,
brother, my question is, who are you to make takfir on anybody? I just don't understand where the arrogance and the superiority comes from. I really don't understand it. So for you to even use this example that, two Shia brothers came to me and they asked me, hey, do you think we're kuffar or not? Do you make takfir of, are you kidding me? First of all, who are you to make takfir over anybody? That's the first thing. And second of all, who are these individuals that are coming to you? Who are you? Why would they come to you? I feel sorry for any man or any woman that feels the need to go to another man or another woman to ask that individual, hey, do you think I'm a Muslim? Do you think I'm a good person? Do you think I'm a kafir or not? I feel sorry for anybody that feels the need to do that. Because what kind of a mentality is that? Your job isn't to impress Ali Dawah or Mo Hijab or whoever the case is. Your job is to be in alignment with God, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's your job. So for you to even make this point, it's such a irrelevant point. What are you even trying to say? What's the claim here? You know what I mean? Thank you for not making takfir. What are you looking for exactly? So ultimately, what I will say is, I don't think insults are acceptable on both sides, but nor do I think that our job is to please anybody but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think that we will continue to strive in pursuit of truth and in pursuit of understanding what happened in history and in pursuit of understanding our religion deeper and further, so that we can get to a position and to a point where we can find ourselves closer to God and closer to our Prophet, so that we can practice our religion in the most effective and efficient way. And that's all I have to say about that. Compromise is not an option. Compromise is not acceptable. Insults are not an option. Insults are not acceptable. But I think it's a two-way street. Insults from the sides of the Sunni and threats like the ones that were made in this video, and also on the side of the people like Yasser Al-Habib. Let's continue.
If you guys are saying this, I don't know what to expect from the whole Shia community. I'll be honest with you. Are you guys really this brainwashed to the level that you're saying that to depict the Prophet is, you mentioned that, which rightly so, depicting is wrong, etc. And you are coming here and telling us the Prophet ﷺ, his companions that he lived, fought with, battled, everything. These guys, the stuff they did, and you're here. This movie is basically tarnishing the image, lying about against them. And if you're so concerned about the Prophet's image being shown, which we all should, what about his companions? How they're being degraded and insulted against?
At the end of the day, the companions of the Prophet were not ma'soomeen. He had hundreds of thousands of companions. Were they all good? Were they all great people? Were they all perfect? Did they never make any errors? And I think that at the end of the day, to make this blanket statement that all the companions, all hundreds of thousands of them were perfect, the epitome of perfection, I think that that's a very It's a very weak claim. But where I do, I guess, understand the viewpoint is, hey, we should not antagonize figures that we know are prominent in other schools of thought. And the reason why we shouldn't do that is so that we don't cause fitnah. And also the reason why we shouldn't do that is because it's not from the akhlaq of Islam, it's not the manners of Islam, it's not the etiquette of Islam. If it's done in a more academic manner, if it's done in more of a manner that's designed to educate without all the insults and whatnot, I think that that's more beneficial, and it's more it's more impactful, and it will allow people to listen and hear the narrative with an open mind, without getting all emotional and adding their emotional personal beliefs into it as well. They could just see history as history was, and as they say, history speaks for itself. So let's carry on.
Well, they don't care about the bigger picture here is for them as well. This, as they write, it's not just controversial. This guy's an extremist, Yasser Al-Habib.
Yeah.
He's an extremist.
He's a terrorist.
Yeah, he's an individual who's actually got individuals, militias, fighting on his behalf.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of us taking someone from ISIS. It's actually, I would say, way worse, to be honest, in my view.
Yeah.
Taking someone from ISIS, their scripts, and praising it and talking of it and just saying it's good that it shows this without the other. It shows you that, to be quite honest with you, the standards are completely messed up, skewed up.
Exactly.
And quite honest, it shows you the level of disrespect that now individuals from the Shia community think they can give us. Don't try to disrespect us.
Okay, so there's 2 points there, and I'm going to address both of them. But I want to talk about the first point where he said that, I guess, saying anything complimentary towards the screenplay of Yasser Al-Habib is worse than, hypothetically complimenting a screenplay that would be written by a leader or a scholar within ISIS, the terrorist organization. I'll be honest, I don't even know what to say. Like, that's just... I mean, ISIS destabilized 2 countries. Almost 3. Yeah, almost 3. They destabilized 2 countries, almost 3. And you're telling me that Yasser Al-Habib, who made a movie, is worse than ISIS. They destabilized 3 countries. They created thousands of casualties. They killed thousands of people. And they recorded it and posted it online. They created thousands of immigrants, refugees that had to flee their countries because of ISIS. And you're telling me that Yasser Al-Habib, who created a movie that you didn't like, is worse than ISIS? Are you kidding me? Like, is that even a take? Like, did you hear yourself as you were speaking? Like, stuff. I don't even know what to say, man. That's a horrible take. That's a horrible take. Let's carry on.
Community think they can give us. Don't try and disrespect us.
Imagine
Don't try and disrespect
imagine
us.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, which has actually got nothing to do with us. It doesn't represent us. Doing a video like this, and then we go, it's free. If you want to watch it, it was good.
Don't get comfortable. Yeah. Try and depict our sacred symbols in a manner, and then just coming out nonchalantly speaking. Don't get comfortable, because believe me, that's going to create some rift that we don't want in this.
This is the part where they start getting into the threat making. But this notion that, hey, don't get comfortable depicting our sacred symbols, otherwise you'll see you'll see something that you won't like, or you'll see a rift that you're not gonna like or whatnot. These threat making. It just led me to I couldn't help but almost think to myself about the level of condemnation that the Shia community felt the need to, let's say, be a part of in relation to this film, whether it was certain marja'iyas or whether it was the entire country of Iran banning this film. All this condemnation, all these people that are actually commenting on my video and commenting on this video, and all of this uproar from the Shia community and from outside of the Shia community, and he feels the need to make this threat, this tough guy threat, that serves absolutely no purpose, serves absolutely no benefit, doesn't make the situation any better, doesn't make the situation any less tense, but it makes him feel like a tough guy. And it's funny because despite all of this thing, all of the backward bending to appease to people like Hijab and Ali Dawah, that was done by the Shia community. And to a certain degree, even in my video, there was a lot of criticism. There was more criticism about the movie than there was compliments. But despite all that, it's not good enough. And They want the entire Shia community to condemn the fringe elements within the Shia community because it upset them, when people like Hijab and Ali Dawah have co-signed channels and platforms where they have devoted themselves to attacking and antagonizing and disrespecting the Shia school of thought. So let me get this straight, Mr. Mohammed Hijab. You want the Shia community as a whole to condemn the fringe elements within it, but you're over here co-signing and supporting and doing collabs with channels on YouTube that are designed to disrespect and belittle and discredit the entire Shia school of thought. If you have something to say, you've done, more than the Sunni community has protested against the producers of the film. The same way that Muslims as a whole don't have to go out and apologize every time that there's a terrorist attack, or at least they shouldn't have to do that because it has nothing to do with majority of Muslims. The same should not be expected from the Shia community when something like this occurs. And it's not our job to appease to you and satisfy you. And it's funny because even though there was an ample amount of condemnation from the Shia community, it's still not good enough for these two individuals. This guy is meant to be an academic. He's a learned person. He has multiple degrees. He studied Islamic history. He went to Al-Azhar University, which is a respectable university. But yet, this is the mindset that he has. This is how he's choosing to approach this situation. And unfortunately, the standards are skewed, as you said. But unfortunately, they're skewed in the sense that we live in an age now where popularity, where monetization is more important than creating intersect and interfaith unity, even within the Muslim community. So that's all I have to say about that for now. Let's continue.
Once again. You guys are being sly here. You're basically saying you don't need to make the person bad. Tell the story, because in the story he is bad.
Yeah,
that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
exactly. So you're saying basically,
and he's depicted as a black man, right?
I don't know.
I think, isn't that correct? They're depicted with black skin and stuff like that. So all the antagonists are depicted in black skin. How come you didn't say anything about that? How come you didn't say anything about that? Is that casual racism that you got now going on in the Shia community? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah.
So to respond to this point, I see absolutely no issue with their skin being black. Only somebody that sees black skin as an insult would look at that as something that's not good or something that's bad. So what if they're black? The character of Bilal in the movie was portrayed by a black character, and that's because Bilal was black. He was portrayed positively. But at the end of the day, it made no difference to me whether their skin was portrayed with a white skin or whether their skin was portrayed in a black skin. There was no impact that had on my opinion. Now, they're basing this off of historical account. I'm not a historian. I don't know what color Umar and Abu Bakr were. According to their understanding of history, they saw that as black. Now, to make this assumption that the producers of this film were racist would be going into their minds and understanding what their intentions are, or seeing what their intentions are. We actually believe that some of our imams were of a darker complexion. So this idea that Shias are racist towards black people is a completely bogus claim. And anybody that has any sort of understanding of the biographies of the imams would know that we have figures who we follow and who we love and who we respect who are black. So to say that Shias have this inherent racism within us is to say that we are also disrespecting our own imams.
Just the last 15 seconds.
I mean, I wouldn't say don't watch it. I wouldn't say watch it. You're a free person. You're born free. You're born as well as a free thinker. So I think yeah, exactly. Stay free. Just make your own decision.
Yeah, figure out your own truth. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's it. Man. I mean, that's it, man.
These people, man, they think they should come out. We need voice of condemnation. Yeah? Don't come out and speak about the Sunni people like that and try and say, don't do that because you wouldn't like it the other way around.
How much more voices of condemnation do you want? So to me, I truly believe that these people, there's absolutely nothing that would satisfy them. The only thing that would satisfy them is for us to come out and say, hey, well, you know what? We don't have our own narrative anymore. We're just going to shut our mouths and just stay quiet and ignore the historical accounts that are there, and we're just not going to think about them, we're not going to talk about them, and we're just going to ignore the oppression that the Ahlul Bayt faced after the death of the Prophet. Now, the same way that you were upset that there was a depiction of the Prophet's companions that was shown in a negative light, how could you then ignore the oppression that was faced by the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet, the family? Let's continue.
You guys make your decision, inshallah. We don't want anyone to go send hate to them. We're just telling you straight up, it worries us to see the Shia community, like I said, I don't want to judge them based on these two individuals, very concerning.
I don't want to judge it based off these two individuals. Proceeds to judge it based off these two individuals.
Allah not allowed these movies or these filth, what was the name? Filth name? Khabith, yeah. So Khabith to cause, for us Shias and Sunnis to fight each other. We don't want to go down that route. They're trying to do that, and we're not. And we did that, when the Shia, the place of worship was attacked. We went there. Me, you, and Sheikh Abu Safir, we actually went there. You know why? Because we said, the person who did it, he didn't say Shia-Sunni. Yeah? So we went there. So no one can come and tell us, oh, you hate Shias, this kind of nonsense. But if you're going to come to us with that,
it's true.
Yeah, we will see a different side to us. And when I'm a different side, I'm talking about, showing your true colors.
So, first of all, this notion that you went to a Shia mosque after it was attacked, I don't know, do you want like a round of applause for that? Do you want a cookie for that? At the end of the day, this is something that's taught to us within Islam. You look at your brothers and sisters, and if you see that there's oppression being served, even within Islam or not within Islam, you stand up against oppression. So this is the basic concept of Islam. And after that, you make a threat. You say you're going to see a side of us that you don't like. You'll see, we'll expose your true colors. This is just another threat by people who claim that they're all for unity and intersect unity and trying to bring people together. But yet here they are once again making threats and fueling the fires that are currently ignited and that are currently flaming within the Muslim community. Now, here's the thing. Here's what I will say about these two individuals also. To me, they're not much different than a figure like Yasser Al-Habib, in that they care a lot about the shock factor, they care a lot about clickbaiting, they care a lot about making headlines and stirring up controversy for their own benefits. And in my opinion, people like these two and people like Yasser Al-Habib are the problem within the community. You guys are the individuals who have the platform of who have the responsibility of having a big platform, and have the ability to create something good for the Muslim community as a whole and create unity for the Muslims as a whole. But yet you choose to use your platform to make empty threats and to portray yourself as these tough guys, as these, as these figures that are, superior to everybody else and whatnot. So I think that's absolutely unacceptable. And in my eyes, just based off of this video and based off of the other videos that I've seen of these individuals, they are absolutely the same. They're cut from the same cloth as individuals that they criticize, like Yasser Al-Habib. And I think it's absolutely unacceptable that we have, as a community, that we have allowed figures like this to take the mantle and to take the forefront of our communities and allow them to profess themselves as self-proclaimed leaders and spokespeople and ambassadors of our communities. Now, what I will say is this. I'm not somebody that claims to be a scholar of the religion, nor am I claiming to be an authority within the Shia community. I'm somebody that practices Islam. I'm somebody who ascribes to the Shia school of thought. I am a follower of the Sunnah of the Prophet as taught to us by the Prophet and by the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet. And I think it's also shameful that this is the etiquette and the actions and the procedures that they're taking in spreading, quote unquote, spreading Islam. Now, ultimately, when I make this, I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to talk from both sides of my mouth. I'm not trying to, belittle anybody. I'm not trying to degrade anybody. I'm not trying to add fuel to the fire either. I think what we should start doing, or what I think the direction forward should be one of respect on both sides. And I think we shouldn't look to these individuals or these figures as though they're leaders or that they're authorities within our religion. I think we should start looking and thinking for ourselves and looking and thinking in a manner that is going to benefit the community as a whole, and that's going to make coexisting something that's doable and something that's manageable for all of us. Now, insults and tensions and threats are not the way to go. That doesn't work. We have a history that shows that that doesn't work. We have a history that shows that that approach is dangerous, and that approach causes more harm to the community than it does good. But yet here these people are taking that approach. You have Yasser Al-Habib throwing insults, and you have these people making threats. And I think the fact that they're profiting off of it makes it even more disgusting, because to them, they don't care how it unfolds. All they care about is how many views they get or how many likes they get. They don't care how this affects the everyday person. They don't care about how this affects the minority communities across the world. They don't care about how their words are now motivating people to go and send hate to other people from other communities. They're not thinking of that. They're not considering that. And I think now we live in a new age, an age where we can have discourse, we can have conversations. We have scholars that are very learned in these topics, scholars that are able to have these discussions, and scholars that should be encouraged to have these discussions. We live in a time where threats are absolutely, there should be no room for threats. We live in a time where there should be absolutely no room for insults. We live in a time now where we should be academically exploring our religion in hopes that we understand it better. And I think that only good can come from that. Only good can come from exploring and asking questions and diving deeper into the history of our religion. And I think there are sources out there, and there are scholars out there, and there are historians out there who have taken on these topics. And that's all I have to say about that. And sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.